to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden symbols and messages.
A special question. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensibilia, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it ganja.
Welcome to another edition of the Adam Dunn Show. I am your host, Adam Dunn.
And I'm your co-host, Mitch Shinasa.
And we are here in a different section of the building today.
Yes.
It was a bit hot up in the studio, so we decided to move it down.
More than a bit hot. It was intolerable.
And we had some guests in that were definitely, we didn't want to cook them up there because it was going to be a tight squeeze. It always is in that spot anyway, but it would have been extra tight. So we wanted to cool down a little bit, got downstairs, got set up a little late, kind of expected, but we are here now. Joined by Bike, of course. Hey, guys. Get in there tight, Bike. You got to get tight.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in fucking Castle Grayskull.
Come on. Squeak.
Yeah, you have to make out with the microphone today because the studio is a little bit sounding... The studio sounds a little bit different than it does down here.
It sounds different. It will have a little echo, and we'll apologize for any of that, but we didn't have any chance to sound test this at all. We literally...
Walked in and we're like, Jesus Christ, my skin's melting off. This isn't happening
for the past hour.
That's the AC wasn't really doing its job, and everything just seemed like it did. Quit.
So it would have been 3 hours of just sweaty rambling or this.
Now we'll
not so bad.
Yeah, we'll do 3 hours still, but it'll be less sweaty rambling.
Right.
So, Mitch,
and I'm here too. Don't worry.
And the kid, superhero, the kid.
I'm here.
Who's single-handedly.
We're here with Bike, and let's get on with our day. So, I'm here.
Who single-handedly moved the studio downstairs.
I did that on purpose because somebody's so grumpy today. Exactly.
I'm so grumpy today.
Oh, my God.
But this jerk burrito is so good.
Jerkitos. The Jerkitos.
It's definitely not a burrito. It's just a wrap.
It's just
You can't just, throw another culture's food around like that. That's kind of rough, kid.
He called it a burrito first.
Oh, did he call it a wrap to me?
Huh?
Yeah, maybe call it a burrito to you.
I don't know if he said burrito, but anyway. So, the kid single-handedly built this entire studio out of just pretty much random stuff he found upstairs. It wasn't even our studio. He just grabbed random things.
Yeah, we just built this whole section.
Bike, is you able to
Whoa!
watch the stream?
Jerky almost went down the stairs. Yeah.
So,
I believe the kid was promised a dab after setup. Was this
God.
accurate?
Give the kid his dab.
Put it together.
Give him his dab.
Fine.
I'll smoke your chem dog pipe. Hand me that thing so I don't break it. All right, well, I'll smoke weed first because YouTube, for whatever, likes when people just smoke weed.
There you go.
We're smoking on some...
loves cannabis.
Smoking on some of Bike's fucking incredible here. Grown by... Who's this by? Bike?
That is by someone who... I don't know the name of.
Someone I don't remember.
Got it from a guy.
Where was it acquired?
The guy.
Denver, Colorado.
So,
This is some street weed.
Whoa, like literally you found it on the street?
No, this is just not from a shop.
Black market.
wow.
Whoa. Someone asked me the other day. if
Burns
the black
clean,
market
though.
is Well,
Nobody
that has yet to be proven.
I'm scared, dude. That stuff could be like...
It's never been tested.
Oh, my God.
This is what we used to
So
smoke
dangerous.
before dispensaries.
So dangerous to buy cannabis from somebody.
Well,
who's
I
not
am a guy who
qualified
lives on the
shop
edge.
Look at him on the edge of his chair. Here,
Yeah,
grow
so lean
this,
all
smoke
the way
this
forward.
illegal weed. Tell me what you think.
What did you think?
Which one?
Interesting. It's like minty.
This one? Oh, this is the illegal weed?
Yeah,
or
that's-
illegal weed?
Well, that's the gray area weed. It's not illegal. I didn't pay for it. It was given to me. So
So it's legal weed. It's
it's
totally
legal.
Yeah.
it's just not from a shop. That's all.
So it's gray area and it's gray ash. So
You almost took a second hit.
This pipe's not big enough.
Right,
exactly. Seriously, it's designed for Bike. All right, let's. We're all disjointed. We're in a different studio. We're at a different time slot. Everything's weird right now.
Burns good.
Burns all right.
Burns good.
Oh.
It's got
Burns
good-
all right. That's not like Snow White. That's like a light
Would you
gray,
like it? Would
a
you-
very light gray.
For free weed, that's
For
pretty
free
good.
weed, it's
Oh, for
great.
free weed, it burns
That's-
awesome
That's
for free.
that's the ideal ash in free weed. Kid, there's your dab.
Like it was flush nice.
So how does our sound? Does it sound terrible for people, or does it sound okay?
Yeah, chat room. What are you thinking about this?
We need to know. so we can adjust accordingly.
Yeah, well, so the kid can adjust things accordingly.
The whole thing,
while
yeah,
we
break it
act.
down,
Well,
break it down,
and we'll take responsibility.
And
Thank
rebuild the entire studio
I
again.
mean, other than that, you can tell that we're in an open room. All the levels should be okay, and everything coming up on live stream is all right. So
Okay, just imagine we're in some giant hall. Like right
yeah,
now.
I mean that's pretty much it.
We're at
It's
the
just so you can
Enorma
hear a
Dome.
little
We're at the
echo.
Enorma Dome right now, headlining. So
This is the Hayes room with the tall ceiling. Man.
Thank you
Yeah.
for the dap.
there we go. Now we're back. So Mitch,
How was your week?
well,
I was going to do that.
oh, Dinosaur Train. What are you talking about?
I missed it.
Oh man, he was telling me about Dinosaur Train, and I kind of wanted to go.
See, that's good. That's
You know
clean.
what? It turned out that it wasn't quite what I expected it to be.
It was so lame, but it was all right. It was, when you have a 3-year-old and he loves the show, and you go there.
So he loved it.
He loved parts of it, but he got scared when he saw the one character that was in actual character, and then it was like, all right, well, that didn't really,
That didn't pan out. Glad there weren't more of them, but also sucked there weren't more of them.
Well, yeah, it was weird because it was like I came to the
I'll smoke
conclusion
more of
that,
that bike.
that everybody that
smoke. It would clean burn.
well, everybody that worked there was over 65, so I figured that might be the part of the Dinosaur Train is that they have these dinosaurs working there because nobody was young. It was like, hey, kitty, come over and pan for gold, or come over and dig for this bone over here. It was like, wow, they got these high, super high energy old people, which was great to see, but. Overall, it was kind of lame. It was like one of those things. It reminded me of being in Holland again because it was kind of like you get out there and you're like, this is on the side of the highway. They got some concrete dinosaurs, and I thought that you were going to go somewhere else, and that was like, nope, that's it. You're going to go look at those same things you saw when you drove in, and you drove all the way around them. Like there's no mystery.
You saw it all.
You saw it all before you even got there. You're like, oh, great. And it's like Stegosaurus, Brontosaurus, Pterodactyl.
Now-
it's like kind of the classic.
Do you think Nick is too young to see Jurassic World?
No, not at all.
He was scared of that dinosaur guy, though. Was it the old man
That's
who
what
was
I
scared
hear
of?
it's like pretty intense.
We'll throw him to the wolves.
Throw 'em to the wolves.
That's like that's Spartan style, Come on, that's all.
That's how you
You
get
just
to it.
throw him out there to the wolves and then hope for the best. And if he makes it back, well, then that's good.
That's
yeah,
your guy.
Yeah. So there you go. So, and ours is to if he's a scary movie.
Is that
so
the part of
that's
Greece where
probably,
people are from, Sparta?
Yeah, that's where my family's from.
You're
Yeah.
Spartans?
Yes.
Yes, he says insultingly.
Spartan and Viking.
I didn't realize
My-
that Dunn
my-
was a Spartan
so
last
my-
name.
my-
Pardon me.
No, the Dunn part's not. It's the Heliopolis side.
That sounds fairly Spartan.
Yeah, that's right.
That
But
does sound Spartan.
So now he's basically half Viking and half Spartan warrior. So it's pretty much now when he picks up a hammer, it's pretty much like real Thor. He's alive.
done
You're
deal.
like,
Done deal.
He starts hammering. You're like, ooh, you can see it's in the blood. And you, since you didn't make it, tell us how come you didn't make it. It was kind of crazy.
Dude. All right, but here's the other thing, too. Now I have a new theory.
Uh-oh.
So Reese suddenly comes out of the bathroom, putting on her makeup, ready to go to Dinosaur Train, and she's like,
Dinosaur Train.
she's like, my eye's bugging me a little. Is it all right? And I'm like, look, she's like going like this, covering her face. And she looks at me, and I'm just like, holy shit. It was like one eye was the color, like bright red, all of a sudden, like within minutes. And she's like, is it pink eye? I was like, I don't know. It doesn't look good. And then there was oozing and whatever. But she looked it up on the internet and magically cured it with a drop.
Wait, she had a bad eye, and you made her look it up on the internet?
She sent me to.
What a-
She had one good eye. That's totally true.
Wow.
And she sent me to Walgreens with the
Bizarro world
baby.
here.
She was like, "Take the baby out. I don't want to get her infected. Go to Walgreens and
Okay,
get
so
it."
Walgreens
chose
is
to
a
go to
good area
Walgreens?
to get away from
Sounds like you
germs
got-
from.
Exactly.
Yeah, go there.
No, I went to Walgreens to get. She wanted an eye patch so we can go to Dinosaur Train. and She'd wear an eye
that
patch.
would have been awesome.
At this point, we're trying to make it work.
No,
But then she's texting me like it's oozing yellow green stuff, and I was like, that's not good.
like a real pirate.
Yeah, yep. That's how Pirate's Eye works.
Yeah.
And then she's good. Then she's convinced it's pink eye, so she finds a. And then she's like,
Sounds like rainbow eye.
Watch, I mean, I don't think pink eye definitely has that but it's just more of an eye booger.
The
like,
thing
cross.
about
It
pink
doesn't
eye is it
ooze.
doesn't happen in 5 minutes like that.
Right, you
No.
have to be asleep for an
Especially when you're
extended
putting
period of
makeup
time.
on, there's a
Yeah.
real sort of like, putting
So-
makeup.
SARS.
Like
or
as you're
something.
putting makeup on.
So obviously it's getting
Chinese bad medicine.
scarier and scarier because this is a weird zombie-like symptom. But she looked it up on the internet and it said to put a drop of breast milk in your eye if you're nursing and you don't want to cure it so you don't give the baby pink eye. And she did, and it worked. It was kind of crazy.
Wow.
Did she like squirt it straight into it? Or
No,
Come on, you gotta give me a visual here. Give me a visual.
No, she pumped it like you normally pump it, and then I got an eyedropper while I was at Walgreens.
Well, if it's an emergency, you just go straight.
Straight in
I
the
would
ear.
just like aimed out.
Yep, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would have been good.
That's good.
I like that. Self-medicating.
So with your own
proper,
body.
That's proper self-medicating.
That is
right?
literal self-medicating.
That's the most self-medicating ever.
So problem
Wow.
solved in the long run. But then on Monday, I woke up and I went outside.
You had pink eye. On the
No,
other
I
eye,
couldn't
huh?
open my fucking eyes. I had to like pull over on the side of the road.
What?
My eyes were like
Did you wake up
overpowered.
driving?
No,
Oh,
I
hate
woke
when
up.
that
I went
happens.
outside. I was fine.
Okay.
Oh, I know when that
And then
happens.
when I got in the car, it was like, and I like had to. It was crazy.
You weren't fine. You thought
Then
you
I
were
wasn't fine,
That's
indeed.
pretty scary, dude. If you're out in like,
No, I've had that happen too. And
You have too.
And sometimes you're just
Kyle
like, well,
has
well,
too.
fuck it, I'll just keep driving, and even
You
though I can't
can't.
see. Yeah, you do. You just do it, and you keep like fighting it, and then you get like you see a glance of the road, and you're like, oh, good, I'm still on the road.
Yep.
And, I've had
That literally just happened to me maybe 4 days ago.
So I think it's a pollen thing,
Well,
guys.
no, I mean it was. Mine was. I was transplanting, and I got a piece of
Oh.
perlite like in my eye, and almost instantly couldn't see anything because the second I opened my eye, it was blinding. So I'm trying to drive to the urgent care, and I can't see
funny
anything.
story. That's a funny
and as soon as I get to the urgent care, I'm like, I'm gonna give this one more shot before I go. And I got pull my top eyelid down over my bottom eyelid, and gone.
A pound of dirt came out of your eye.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, whatever the little piece of
a whole pot came
but
out.
yeah, I mean, it's pretty miserable. You try to drive, and you're like, I don't know, I got it. Like, I can do it.
You,
And
you
it's-
can't like
you
even
can't do it.
force your eyes open.
Yeah,
Your
no,
eyes
you
are
can't.
mad stronger than your hands.
I think it's a combo of just like the time of year where the sun gets at a certain angle, and then also it's
I'm
like
familiar with that. Sure.
we're like coming out of the winter weakness,
It's like
and all of a
someone
sudden.
shooting
No,
with
it was
lasers.
definitely been a cloudy week.
We
Right, it
haven't
was
had-
much
we haven't-
brighter
we've
than it had
rain
been.
every
Sure.
day for
Yeah.
fucking weeks.
And I think
weeks.
it was like a pollen allergy. I think it was like just the perfect trifecta of things that my eyes could not stand
storm.
up.
I don't think pollen had anything to do with it.
I'm
pollen
thinking
seems
it's
like a
been raining.
far-fetched.
Pollen hasn't been an issue.
No, well, it was after the rain, dude. It was the first day of that pollen bloom. Most likely.
I saw.
All I know is it hasn't been a problem since I started taking allergy medicine in the morning. So
There you
So
go.
now you-
All right, done deal.
Done deal. Problem solved.
Problem solved. Finish that.
okay.
All right. So give me a
3 more
lowdown-
minutes of bullshit.
Oh, really? We got a whole lot. That's a
Well,
lot of
go
bullshit.
on.
I'm
Alright,
gonna
so
count
we're-
how many times you guys say "done deal" this episode.
Done deal.
I'm gonna say it like probably
I would
twice.
use a drink every time someone says it.
Oh, whoa.
So, yeah, other exciting stuff. Talked to Vice News this morning.
Oh yeah, I went to New York. That was awesome.
You went to New York. That's
That was-
right.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, it was like
That's where you were last week. That's why you weren't on the show.
man, it's all making sense.
And that's also when he turned 65.
60, Ryan. He turned 60 on his birthday.
Yeah, 60. Come on, guys. Get the numbers right. Get the numbers right.
45, 46.
46.
40. I knew there was a 6 in there.
Yeah, 46. Sixes are good.
6s are good. You almost got 3 of them.
Oh man.
Man. No, so that's awesome. Happy birthday, bud.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I got to treat myself to a midnight haircut, which was kind of fun.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Oh, you're
not
a
bad.
sleepy Chinese guy.
It does look
Yeah,
like a sleepy
sorry.
Chinese haircut. Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
a sleepy Chinese haircut. Actually, it was a woman. The guy was luckily not the one who cut my hair. His wife did, but she was sleeping in the back. He was sleeping out in front. So it was like at midnight. You don't have much choice. You know, I need a haircut now. But it was all right.
And then how was you were on a panel? Or you were just there?
Yeah,
You were
we had
chilling?
our own little piece of the puzzle there. So we had Warren Edson opening it up for everybody, which was good because he's, good person to talk to people about the realities of what's
When
coming
you
around
start
the
off
corner.
with him, you sound like you're with a smart bunch of people, so it makes you sound.
Oh yeah, it was the best way to do it. You get your lawyer first, get them all warmed up, and then we kind of had Sean Coleman came in, so
Another
he's
smart guy.
he can make and he's got soliloquies.
speaking,
He's got
yeah.
soliloquies going on, right? So he makes it all happen, and then compliance with Nicole West. So she kind of like got right in their face, and she has her own style, which is funny.
No nonsense.
No nonsense compliance. You know what I mean? So people take it seriously.
Is she related to Adam West by any chance?
No,
That'd be
or nor
awesome.
Jane West or Mike West. So we've covered.
Adam's already explored
She's
her
from the
family tree.
West, though.
Thank you.
She's from California.
And then I would come in, kind of,
And then you
give them, get confuse the hell out of everybody,
Little razzle dazzle.
and then
done deal.
and then done deal, yeah.
Right? And then
No, we had
That's
JJ Chamberlain actually
Yeah, that's
came.
3.
JJ Chamberlain.
I'm doing them on purpose for you.
I know,
now.
that's 3.
Okay. Can
Done
you
deal.
display a counter over Can you overlay a counter?
Yeah, that would be good. Then it would be a done deal.
Is it a
That's
done?
4.
Or did we just have a done deal, kid?
That's 5.
All right.
And so then JJ Chamberlain came in and did the extraction and.
Are they related to Wilt Chamberlain by any chance?
No.
No.
How about
no.
JJ from
Or
Talk Dog?
not JJ
No,
Walker either.
not related to
And
J- no.
none of those.
People aren't related by first name usually, guys.
Not
Especially
usually.
when it's like a
Not
initials.
usually, but there's a few times.
You never know.
You know. really weird dads who name their kids the same thing, like later, Daryl and Daryl guys.
What's beeping?
What is beeping?
That is
Is that what, you're cooking something, or what's going on?
Paul's got the oven going. That's what.
Paul, it doesn't matter.
No,
Paul's taking over.
Oh, the
'cause
dead
you get-
air herpes followed us downstairs. Those little.
All right, so
Zip
now
pops.
I think it's time for an overview of this awesome show we're gonna have.
You want to start overview? We'll do overview, and then kid, if you have it queued up, we'll segue into your favorite segment.
Yeah, but first we gotta do a
Okay.
little
Yeah, of course.
intros.
So we want to intro into the studio. I don't know. You're a little glary, so if you want to lean over slightly to your left, we have Brandon Coates and his mother in studio.
Angelic is right now what it is. It's
Yeah,
just
you
big-
guys are like radiant.
It's like a giant ray of
Is that
coming
hot
down.
sun beating down on you?
Yeah, luckily.
Oh, you
it's
sound good. Sound
slightly
good.
slightly cloudy.
And you guys may remember Brandon as the Dish Network employee who was fired as a medical marijuana user, and we talked about it on the other show. I wish Jessica, the Cheesecake Lady, was here because she'd have a ton to say to you. I don't know if you guys saw that episode.
I see. I wasn't even here for that.
It was you
Yeah.
know Jessica.
Basically,
she gets
basically
impassioned
my
when
mom's
there's
friend. My mom's
injustice.
friend texted me and she's like, "That woman has potty mouth." I said, "Yeah, that's why she's on."
That's
Don't-
the point. That's
Yeah,
her
that is
thing.
the- we know that.
she's,
We know that.
Yeah, she's an interesting character. That's for sure.
So anyway, your case has taken on a lot of interest, and we're going to read this week's news segment, which last week's news segment 2 weeks ago was your story. We're going to do this week's news, and then we're going to talk in detail about the details and really how much of an injustice it was. Sure. Right on, kid. You ready?
Yeah, so
This might get loud, too,
My
so-
favorite segment.
Turn this thing down a little bit because the news. Oh, that's a new one. That's not the news.
That's my favorite part. You said I get to play my favorite part next, right?
Okay.
Isn't that? I figured I'd get it out of the way now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
All
easier
right, done
that way.
deal.
That is what I believe would be 6 now.
I'm just
I
trying to
think-
catch you when
I
you're
think
not
it's
counting.
6. It's 6.
We'll get you.
Pope Francis speaks out against legalization of marijuana and other drugs. Boo. And this guy's, as you were saying, generally a
shit.
cool guy.
No, this pope sucks.
What?
This pope blows.
Because he's not the
Benedict
Greek
was,
Orthodox Pope?
Oh, the best pope was Paul. Was the best.
Oh, of course,
he was
but
the man.
he's
That's
not around
he's the pope. Yeah, boo this pope. This pope.
After several week absence from the media spotlight, Pope Francis emerged on Friday as a speaker at the International Drug Enforcement Conference in Rome, where he said he was opposed to the legalization of drugs, including marijuana, for recreational use. The scourge of drug use continues to spread inexorably, fed by deplorable commerce which transcends national and continental borders, Francis told conference participants. Attempts, however limited, to legalize so-called recreational drugs are not only highly questionable from a legislative standpoint, but they fail to produce the desired effects.
According to him.
Well, yeah, not according to science. Newsweek wants to know if I want to sign up for daily headlines, though. While Francis has sometimes surprised constituents with his progressive views on homosexuality, atheism, and capitalism, for example, his stance on marijuana legalization, at least, is at odds with a growing push for it. In December, Uruguay became the first country to legalize the drug. Francis is from nearby Buenos Aires, Argentina. That law included regulation of the cultivation, production, storage, sale, and distribution of marijuana, as well as an official registry of users' consumption. So, I don't know, man. Pope, what are you doing? You've definitely
He could gain a lot of new followers if he just like
Right. So the way I look at it, I mean, it's not like
Step in line.
being the Pope is not like you don't really have to watch what you say necessarily. Like
no,
the
you get
president does.
right.
So, but like Adam said, in that aspect, he could have somebody who maybe disagreed with him about something specific, and then they hear, oh, but he's against marijuana. I really like this Pope now. He may
You
may
think
be
there are
for
that
gay
many
rights.
people who their like primary
Dude,
beef in the world is the legalization of cannabis?
Yeah.
I don't.
Did you see that? I mean,
well,
like,
hold on. Play the news. Because here's what I got for you, though. Because on the other hand, the Dalai Lama announces support for legalizing medical cannabis.
Of course he does.
Of course. See, that is what a good religious leader does.
And that's why the Pope is taking that stand, because they're like, man, these people are smoking cannabis, and then they're starting to maybe question their religion or question their beliefs or things like that.
Look at the Dalai Lama. He looks blazed as hell in this picture.
But that's, he gets high because he's like,
Speaking
at
at an event in Guanajuato, Mexico, the Dalai Lama said that he supports legalizing the medical use of cannabis. The Dalai Lama, who's the spiritual leader of Tibetan Buddhism, says that although he doesn't support the use of cannabis for recreational purposes, the medical use of cannabis should be the exception. The comments were made in an event held by former Mexico President Vicente Fox, who supports legalizing cannabis for all uses as a means of combating the nation's dangerous drug cartels, who make a majority of their profit off of the sale.
So we need to have a fight between the Dalai Lama and the Pope, and the winner gets to set the standard.
So now I don't know the Pope's stance on medical, and I didn't realize that the Dalai Lama was only making
all or none, Mitch. If you're not totally with us, you're against us.
So that you're against the Dalai Lama?
I'm against the Pope.
Well, the Dalai Lama is against recreational.
You can go right to hell too.
Damn.
On that note,
wow. Somebody got up on the wrong side of that.
Hey, I love weed. Weed is my god.
Colorado company Wana Brands creates first ever slow release cannabis.
Mitch
cannabis
doesn't believe
capsules.
this. Mitch is doubtful of this.
I'm not doubtful. I just
Well, when you said, I don't think they were the first people to come up with a slow release pill, that made me think you were doubtful.
No. I believe that they've accomplished this. I don't think anyone else in Colorado has, but I have an investor deck from this Israeli group from like a year ago that said they had come up with the same thing.
I believe that.
Where do you buy that at?
That would these ones you can be buying in Colorado. So
Time release.
Yeah, we're finding out now. A Colorado company says their first of its kind product is making medical marijuana more convenient and discreet. Wana Caps XR, the newest product from Boulder-based Wana Brands, are the first ever slow-release cannabis capsules. I was having 4 to 7 seizures a week, said Hoot Gibson. Gibson was diagnosed in 2009 with multiple sclerosis, an autoimmune disease that affects the nerves, creating, among other things, chronic pain and muscle stiffness. He moved to Colorado for medical marijuana, and while his hands still tremble, Gibson says the pills keep his seizures at bay. I'm one of several medical refugees because it's not available in the state that I'm from, and it's looked down upon. He said, I either had to smoke or I had to have an edible or a vape pen. He's not smoking or vaping anymore, though. I was asked to participate in a patient trial of the Wana Caps, and I was very willing to do it because there's never been a sustained release product on the market, he said. They can last up to 12 hours, which is a real game changer for people who have medical issues, said Wana Brands co-founder Nancy Whiteman. Whiteman says the capsules are easy for patients to carry and much less noticeable. So rather than getting a real jolt where all the cannabinoids... What? I stumbled on cannabinoids? Jesus.
There's an L in there?
cannabinoids.
Where all the cannabinoids are released at once.
Cannabinoid.
You know, I had an employee at my store who did that with my last name. I shouldn't have told you guys.
Oh, you just...
Shanasana.
Shanasana.
No, it's not as funny.
No, good.
Mine's done. You know that, of course.
Yeah. All right, news. Marijuana research just got a green light from the Obama White House. The White House today lifted a long-standing restriction on medical marijuana research, giving a green light to a growing group of mainstream scientists who are interested in investigating the potential health benefits of pot. Such research will no longer have to undergo the review by the Public Health Service, a process that is ostensibly meant to ensure the use of scientifically valid clinical trials, but in practice has served as a barrier to launching studies. A bipartisan group of lawmakers and even opponents of legalization had called for the requirement to be lifted. The announcement's a pretty big deal, says Christopher Brown, a spokesperson for Americans for Safe Access, a group that advocates for access to pot for medical research. You have a lot of interest in experimental research on medical cannabis, and this shows that you're starting to see policies aligned with that. The announcement comes a few months after U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy signaled the federal government's shifting thinking on medical pot, telling CBS this morning that preliminary data shows that, quote, marijuana can be helpful for some medical conditions. So, big deal still. I think I was just talking to someone about this morning that, you know, it's not... We part of our tax money goes to doing research, as Cheesecake Lady was saying, but it's all research on how bad this stuff is for you. None of it's about medical benefits of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's always been the case, but I mean, I'm sure in the next few years they're going to get a lot more independent, not fucking biased right off the bat because all the money's coming from the government stuff, which, you know, again, but then they don't take it seriously. That's the only problem about that is that they don't even acknowledge those studies. And they only acknowledge the ones that they are backing.
Go figure.
Imagine that, right?
Imagine that.
And then they're always based on negative results.
All right, next one.
Pepper Pot is eyeballing you right now. He's like going to
Oh, yeah.
He's about to jump over and grab that joint.
Sorry, Paul. I got this too. Just a second here.
Crackdown on Albanian marijuana village after fatal shooting. You know about the Albanian marijuana
Oh, yeah.
village?
I told you about it.
You talking about the Albanian one?
I think so. That's the one that was busted last year.
No, this is different. This is Albania, dude.
That was Albania, too, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
I think so.
Lazarat, Albania?
Yes, exactly.
That's exactly where it was. Yeah.
Rocket. That's where my friend got to shoot the rocket, I told you.
Oh.
It's the Loveland of Albania
Why is it the Loveland of Albania?
because it starts with an L.
That is not why.
You look kind of Albanian.
I can, yeah.
Wow.
You could pass.
I can do
I
it
can't
all.
believe you just said that. I've been thinking that since I've known him.
Really?
No.
No.
No. Really?
Well, I'm
Do you
Greek,
know any?
so
yeah,
Greek and
they're
Albania
not far off.
reference.
There's a border between
Yeah.
the two, so, you know.
He was like a lumberjack, in Oregon.
About 400 Albanian police officers, backed up by 2 Army helicopters, started to move late Wednesday into a major illegal marijuana growing village after gunmen there fatally shot 1 policeman and wounded 2 others. Local media said gunfire was heard coming from the southern village of Lazarat throughout the day, but an Associated Press photographer heard no shooting in the evening. Police spokesman Gentian Mulai said officers had identified 21 suspects and called on them to surrender, also asking residents and authorities to cooperate. If the armed group responds by shooting, police will eliminate them, a police statement said. Police, quote, are keeping under control an isolated armed group in the village, end quote, said Enerheta Kamani, police spokeswoman. In nearby, I'm not going to even try that one.
Yeah,
Police-
every year they kind of clear that place out.
It was about a year ago, huh?
Whoa.
He's done that like 6 times already.
Got a
Dude.
car crash over there? What's going on? I hope you're making me one.
There's one.
All that noise.
All right, kid, pull the trigger. Are you hot right there?
Would have been worse up top. Oh, yeah.
Killing each other.
We would have died. You would have died. Help out the mic situation there.
Marijuana smuggler dies after 40 years on the run.
Oh man.
You know why they found him hiding in that basement with that mad scientist with the LSD?
No, this one's. This
Is
one
it
may not
legit?
be legit. This looks legit. Yeah, this is legit. This appears legit. I think this is legit. I'm going to read the article. We'll decide if it's legit. Crime does not pay
We
unless
don't
you are
screen
good
our
at
news
it.
here on the Adam Dunn Show.
Well, we live screen it. It's a live show, kid. That's part of the show.
Occasionally we get pawned.
Yeah,
No,
live
we're not
shows
getting
screen their
pawned
news.
here. None of these are ridiculous. Man detained outside of Tsarnaev sentencing after large knife found. Georgia teen drowns on Weiss Lake in Alabama.
Sarnav as
Bobby
in
Jindal.
the...
This is Atlanta Journal. This is legit. This is legit news.
But the Sarnav is in the Boston Bombers,
AtlantaJournal.net.
right? Isn't that
no, it's shut up, Mike.
is that not the Boston Bombers? The Sarnav or
Yes,
right?
yes, it is. Okay.
Just clarifying.
Crime does not pay unless
Don't
you're
have to be
good
so
at
cranky.
it. Looking at today's jail population, it's hard to believe that in the 1970s, the maximum sentence for possessing tractor-trailer loads of marijuana was 5 years in prison. Now it's possible to get life for selling $20 worth of weed. It wasn't always this way. In 1974, marijuana smuggler and alleged fisherman Raymond Grady Stansel Jr. was indicted in Florida after being caught with 9 tons of leafy green on the Steinhatchee River in Dixie County. 9 tons of marijuana sounds like a lot, but that was only half of what Stansel, then 37, was helping drug dealers move to big cities in the U.S. when he was arrested. The man, described as a pirate and a soldier of fortune, could also have been described as very wealthy. He had $25,000 in cash on him when he was arrested, receipts for Rolex watches, and checks for a Swiss bank account.
So,
Ballin'.
quick question. So,
Yes.
why did you ever notice, or is it just me that they? So they say 9 kilos, right? Is that what they said?
It's 9 tons, actually, is what they said.
So 9 tons, which is 18,000 pounds, right?
Okay,
So
now how
that's
many
just-
grams is that?
I don't know.
A couple mil.
But it's 9 tons is what it said?
9 tons.
Okay, I was going to say, I thought you said 9 kilos, because then they make it seem like 9 kilos, but 9 kilos is only really, 30 pounds or so, give or take?
But it's
No,
not
but
that
it's
good.
no,
But
but it's
9
9
tons.
tons. Yeah, 9 tons.
Nobody was trying to-
18,000 pounds.
That's a
I don't think I've ever seen 9 tons of dried
No.
finished bud.
18,000
At
pounds?
once.
Where would you see 18,000 pounds?
This guy
of
saw
gun?
it.
That's true.
So
I've seen it before on TV.
yeah, I mean,
Usually burning in a big pile. at
Yeah.
this point.
so he was granted a $500,000 bond and paid it with a cashier's check. Then he went scuba diving in Honduras. On New Year's Eve, Stancil was reported missing. His girlfriend and other witnesses said he fell off a boat and was never seen again.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Investigators didn't believe the story and actively looked for him for years. They didn't find him until 40 years later when a Tampa Bay Times reporter called and told them the fugitive had died in a pickup truck accident in Australia.
Then he was like, "What?"
This story is amazing for a number of reasons and makes me think New York prisoners Richard Matt and David Sweat may be a long way away from the cabin where police say they found DNA.
So he was in Australia and he actually really.
He was
died.
living in Australia as a tour boat operator under the name Dennis Lee Lafferty, and he seems to have not had much trouble in starting his new life. He initially tried to sail to from Honduras to Australia, but his girlfriend got sick, so he landed in Venezuela. Then he flew to Peru, then Tahiti, and eventually North Queensland, which has a climate very similar to Florida. And then in northern Australia, he designed and built a 53-foot sailboat and then a nice home along the river. And in 1987, he started the Daintree River Cruise Center and began offering boat trips on the crocodile-filled river surrounded by a dense rainforest.
So are you trying to say this is not the Square Groupers story? Kadash is convinced this is the...
There were multiple groups smuggling in Florida. You know, it wasn't one operation. There's no indication.
This
here.
isn't the Platt-Shorn story, though.
Okay, so Platt-Shorn and them were not the only people involved in the EZCC group. Yes.
Oh.
That was a longer trade that extended. Multiple people were doing that independently. You know what I mean? They were all just kind of like linked up with Rastas and doing it on this side.
He was going to Colombia, I thought.
That was later.
Okay.
But there were tons of people using those waters. That was one particular bust in that region, but it wasn't like they got the source.
Yeah, they never caught him with a grandma weed.
And so there were a lot of these like rogue pirate, probably Jimmy Buffett listening types, who just were weed smugglers. You know, that was that was a thing. And
everybody was at a certain moment in time.
Yeah,
that was the thing. Is like now nobody does it because it's like not worth it at all, and nobody wants.
The sentence was 5 years. That's what they just said. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
But this dude, rather than doing the 5 years, posted bond with a cashier's check and bounced. For 40 years
that's
to
what you
Australia.
could do. You couldn't do that now. They would be like, okay,
no
so
way. Post
where's
9/11,
where's
that's
this
not
money
real.
coming from? You go, just a little,
There you go. I got that handy.
spare cash I have.
We just lost all of our Jimmy Buffett listeners. Just want to let you know.
Whatever.
That's all right.
All two of them, I guess.
Yeah.
All right,
Too
give me
too hungover to listen anyways.
All right, let's do two more. This one's on the Smokers Club, so I don't know how legit that is. German city decriminalizes cannabis possession, plans to legalize delivery in dispensaries. This is in the city of Bremen.
I heard about it yesterday also.
The most noteworthy thing here, though, is what is obviously a German magazine article that says it's these two like German girls hugging each other and smiling, and the caption is, "At 13, we were Nazis, but then we discovered marijuana, and it has changed our lives."
The headlines in Germany.
So that's real. Germany, yes, Germany is one of many European and international nations considering sweeping marijuana reform changes that consist of legalization, decriminalization, and medical marijuana. Ever since Colorado and Washington made the legal power plays, progressive efforts have ballooned and been felt directly in places as far-reaching as Uruguay, Jamaica, and Israel. Spelled totally wrong. The German city of Bremen is the latest example of how powerful marijuana's domino effect has become. Last Friday, Bremen's Social Democrats and Green parties agreed that marijuana possession should no longer be persecuted and that the legal delivery of weed should become legal. The decision paves the imminent way for both dispensaries and delivery services in the town of Bremen.
Yeah, no, it's.
Have you been to Bremen?
No, I don't think so.
Bremenville?
No,
Bremen,
Bremen, Germany.
I had a hard time following this story because I was mesmerized by your pronunciation of Uruguay.
Uruguay.
No, he says Uruguay, like Jamiroquai or something.
Did you say it like Jamiroquai?
Maybe I did.
Is that in
There's nothing
ode?
wrong with it. It's
Is
just
that
interesting.
in ode to Jamiroquai?
Hit me with one more,
They're
kid.
playing there this summer.
One last thing.
Medical study finds dosages on cannabis edibles are inaccurate.
What did he even say? Cannibal?
Cannabis edibles. Medical study finds doses on cannabis edibles are inaccurate. This is on Gizmodo.
Dude, you can't say
I will
anything
say
that
this is
has the
true.
word cannabinoids.
You guys never read the news, so we never.
No, I know. We let you do it because it's
Yeah,
fun.
it's funny. I know.
We just
You're
chime
like,
in.
hey, Mitch, you know what's tricky? How about you go run and jump over a bunch of hurdles? I know
And
you
say
have.
words
and
that
we'll
you say on a
watch.
daily basis like cannabinoids and cannabinol.
I know. It's hard to believe that an unregulated industry devoted to getting people high might not be concerned about extreme accuracy in representing their products. But a group of doctors writing in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that most cannabis edibles they tested were stronger or weaker than advertised.
Well, that's pretty obvious.
So at least this is an issue of poor accuracy rather than pure rip-off strategies, unless you're in Seattle, where edibles were consistently described as having higher doses of THC and CBD than they actually did. The researchers tested 75 products on 49 different brands purchased in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Seattle. See, they didn't come here because we have laws that really crack down on this shit.
Which I don't know how well that's going.
Wow, we'll find out. We'll find out.
We'll find out.
I'll tell you right now,
What's that?
they're not working.
They're not working. Edibles are mislabeled, you're
I-
saying?
I've gotten a few 300 milligram edibles recently that were
not.
probably like 0 milligram edibles.
Yeah, we won't mention any names, but I mean it's.
No, it's Dixie. We'll say that.
Yeah, so is Dixie. It was Dixie.
But everyone's not surprised to hear that.
But
That's
no,
not-
I mean it's crazy. I remember when I first moved here before the people from Chiba Chew rebranded and did their whole thing. They got tested in their edibles where one of them could be a 15 milligram that read 75, and the other one could be a 125 milligram that read 75.
But that shit never happens with Incredibles.
Listen, if
Nope.
you get caught open blasting
Oh,
by
yeah,
MED,
let's go straight
your,
segue.
your edibles
Wait.
probably aren't going to be on point.
Perfect segue.
Incredibles edibles. Colorado's best edibles. The world's best edibles, probably.
Cranking them out.
Show up, Colorado recreational store, ask them for Incredibles.
They got rec versions. They got them.
They got the med versions go up to 300 milligrams.
And all the recs switching over to 100 now. Woo, woo.
Yep. I got some of the new 50s in stock.
Fitties.
50s.
available
It doesn't make
everywhere.
sense to buy 50. Buy 100 and just eat half. If you're really set on eating 50 milligrams, it's
Yep.
like
Yeah, you
$6
want
bucks more.
as much concentration as you can in the actual possible piece.
Hold
because
on, I just have to say something.
What's that?
Really interrupting. In the chat room, some new guy just came in and said, "Hey guys, I just got here. Did I miss anything? Miss anything important?"
Uh-huh.
And someone said, "No."
No, nothing's important.
No.
Thanks, Ryan Lyon.
Nothing
No.
important.
Glad nothing important's been said.
We didn't introduce the
Wasting our
guests
breath.
yet.
Yeah.
We didn't. We
did-
haven't started
we've
the
just done
show
news.
in earnest. We've
Nothing
been
important.
No, just
all right.
All right. It's
Cool.
sort of true because it would have been bad if he'd said that and we actually had our guests on yet. But since we haven't, and
They're used to us, you know.
they're thinking they're
We're
taking us for
gonna
granted.
mix it up.
Are
Yes.
they taking us for granted?
Absolutely.
Okay, we started an hour late, so everything's all
Yeah.
bamboozled,
Yeah, and boozled. And we want to also thank.
right? We also
Grow.
want to thank Way to Grow,
Yeah,
Colorado's #1 grow supplier. I'm pretty sure
real.
they're still lighting it up.
still lighting it up.
Tell me the locations again, Adam, and then I'll look up
7
the.
locations. They have Silverthorne is the newest one.
Mhm.
So up in the mountains, the Platte River location is their biggest, I think, downtown and their biggest location.
That's where Concentrate Corner is too, right?
And that is where Concentrate Corner is. And then they've also got the Gun Barrel Shop, which is, I think, Ryan's favorite shop to go to because they've got some sort of like candy or something. that
I
he
mean,
likes
they
to-
all
that's
have
all I
candy.
get, and that's what makes
They
them-
all have
These guys like the
candy.
candy, basically. It's all about the candy.
I love the candy at Way to Grow.
it
It's
could
funny
be about
'cause
the lighted
pretty
up
much
sale.
everybody I talk to is like, yeah, they got good candy. I'm like, man, it's
mean,
just candy, guys.
It's gone a little.
If it was
downhill
incredible, if it was
recently.
Incredibles candy, I'd be really stoked. Of course.
No,
And
but when you
then
go
you'd
to
be-
Way to Grow, it's like you're usually pretty stoned anyway. So you're like, oh, candy.
Way to Grow's a great shop.
Yeah,
You should
it's
go
awesome.
there.
they've also got Boulder, Fort Collins, old school. That's the original shop, right? The Fort Collins shop.
Fort Collins is old school, yeah.
Old school original, and then they've also got the Colorado Springs. And
If you're in
the
Colorado,
58th
there's
Street.
probably a Way to Grow near you.
Pretty
Yep.
close. And if you really had to, they might be able to deliver, but it's not a big thing, right?
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, they're not in delivery anymore.
Unless you're doing a very, very large project.
Probably.
But either way, no matter what you're buying there, make sure you say Adam Dunn Show at the end because they will hook it up with 25% off, and you're not going to get that price. I don't care how long you've been using an account there. I don't care how many commercial purchases you've done. You'll get hooked the F up. Also, we got to give a big shout out to Build the Soil. We're going to bring Jeremy on today
Jeremy
to talk
Silva.
about a lot of his new stuff. So kid, make sure you're ready on the 1s and 2s for when that happens.
Oh, we have both mics on for our first guest. Then
I know. Yeah, we're gonna do it later. We're gonna transition, and just threw me off there talking about that. Come on, AU Extracts, of course.
That's right.
Have you talked to them recently, Adam?
I have actually.
Tell me what's new with AU.
AU. I like this.
AU, what's going on?
It works the name works great in New York. I figured that out. I was like, what's the name of the company? AU. They're like, hey, I like that. AU. Then they get it. Oh,
then they get it.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but they're setting up shop over here. They're working with Dark Horse, doing a little bit of collabs and stuff. They're gonna be working with all the good people, I think.
that's what we like to hear.
Yeah, and that's important stuff. And then they're already cranking out in Oregon right now. I think they're over 30 shops right now. So pretty much covering the gamut they can there. They're in Eugene, so I guess they're probably easy to find in that actual town, but all over, I think.
Nice.
Portland.
Nice.
Heady glass capital of the United States
US,
of America.
yeah.
Eugene.
Also, we got to give a huge shout out to Dark Horse Genetics.
That's
who
right.
you just mentioned.
How big?
Huge.
As bigger than you, Bike.
Huge?
Huge.
Sure.
Huge, man.
Dark Horse always has some crazy shit popping off. Download the app. That's the best way to stay connected with them. They got it on Google Play. They got it on iPhone. You can just go to their website, darkhorsegenetics.com. And they're doing their Tommy Chong collabo. So much stuff going on. Vending machines in their stores. You don't want to deal with a bud tender? Go to Dark Horse. They just updated the website. They got all kinds of info about their gardens, about their breeding, just everything you might be interested in. You can just go to darkhorsegenetics.com. Check them out.
What's that new thing he came out with? Another new banner back cross or something?
I mean, he keeps back crossing
The
that
Banner's
banner.
Revenge.
No, he's talking about Banner 1.0, which is the Strawberry Diesel F3. He brought that back to the banner. So he made like a real strawberry version of it. That's available on the website. You can buy the seeds right there, and he's carrying a few different seed lines as well. You can click right on store, buy seeds right off darkhorsegenetics.com, delivered to you.
And I think that's about
Who else we got to shout out? I feel like we got one more.
Have we done Delta Soil? He's
Yep,
gonna be in, but
he's coming in.
Peppa Pop for not bringing me my hibiscus. What's up, man? You just keep looking
Yeah,
at
he's
me.
drinking his hibiscus
You're drinking
now.
like 4 in front of me. I said, bring me one, and you just...
They're really good.
I didn't want one then when I had a huge coffee in my hand. I don't want to
It
triple
tastes
up.
like you're drinking a florist.
What a
Like
jerk.
a Kool-Aid.
What
right
a
when you
jerk
walk
that-
into a florist that's
Yeah,
That
the
really
smell,
floral
the punch.
smell.
Yeah, botanical.
botanical.
But,
I think that's about it on our shout-outs.
No, we got
we'll
one
figure it out.
more.
Who else?
We got shop.hoodlabstore.com.
Of course.
Number one spot for all your Hoodlam gear, Adam Dunn Show merch. So again,
Yeah.
shop.hoodlabstore.com.
We're launching some new THTC gear soon, so everyone can get some new T-shirt stuff.
Hey, everyone in the chat room who thinks a kid is a tool, he just kind of stepped up and gave Adam his plug.
Yeah.
There you
That we already
go.
forgot.
See? Who thinks you're a tool?
I don't give a shit.
Nobody would
Bike's
ever.
defending you, kid.
Oh, no, I know. That's
Wow,
not
Big Brother Bike coming
I
in.
don't care.
Triple B.
All right.
Triple B balance. All right, on that note, let's get on with the show.
Let's
We
make
got
it
so
happen.
much. We got guests in studio.
They're backing up.
We
They're getting all
yeah.
grumpy. It's
Take
hot.
seats, please, guys.
Relax. You're making me uncomfortable now. You think?
All right, but we do have, at long last, and we thank you for your patience, Brandon Coates in studio. Dude,
Actually, it was good. A lot of people I told a few people what was going on yesterday, and they were just like, "Damn!" Like,
and actually, I'm glad we waited because we had like 72 people before, and now we have 101. So
all
we
right,
definitely
we've
have
broken
people.
the 100 live mark.
And if we have 100 live, that usually breaks 1,000 by the time I get home. So that's good. So on that note, I mean, we introduced you via your news story. Recently, you were terminated from your job for your medical marijuana use. When was that?
This was in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I've been working at Dish Network for 3 years.
Kids on it.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, I've been working there for 3 years. I got hired in 2007, and
Was there a pre-employment drug screen?
Yeah, there was.
And you passed that, obviously.
Yeah, I wasn't actually smoking at that time.
Okay.
And my spasms, my muscle spasms. I don't know if you just seen me have one. That was like pretty minor, but my muscle spasms, they're getting really bad when I was at work, and my medication really wasn't working anymore. So my doctor recommended using marijuana, and so I tried it, and it was like instantly my muscle spasms went away. It was like instant, like that second, and it was great. I could sleep, I could work, I could do everything. I'd sit nice and calm like I am right now, as opposed to fighting my body constantly when I'm sleeping, when I'm trying to work. So I was like, it was great. I was like, this is a miracle. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do this. There's no way I'm going to stop this. I'm going to live my life, excuse me, live my life like spasming all the time. So I started using that. Obviously, I wasn't going to tell them. I knew it was a controversial subject. I'm not just going to go say, hey,
as happy as you were about it. Yeah.
Right, yeah, and like, I want to keep my job. I need a paycheck, so, yeah, well, I worked there for actually 6 months, and actually for 6 months before they promoted me up to their commercial department, and I worked there for 2.5 years. I was getting good
performance reviews.
Yeah, good performance reviews, and I was always in the top 5% as far as handle time, and I always had really good QAs and stuff like that. But 2010, I came in, and my supervisor, he was like, well, they want to talk to you in the human resources. And so I go up there, and they have a big sign on the door that says random drug tests. I'm like, oh, great, that sucks. So I go in there, and I tell the girl, and I'm like, I'm not going to pass this. I'm not going to pass this test. And she's just like, well, I just work here. I don't know, So I waited a couple days. The lab called me one morning, and they're like, you didn't pass the test. So I go in that day, and I go up to the human resource office, and I talk to the human resource manager, and she was like, we've never had this come up before. And she's like, she took a copy of my medical marijuana card, and she's like, we're going to talk to the higher up and figure out what we're going to do with this. And so they let me work there for actually 2 more weeks. They talked to my supervisor and my manager. They all gave me good appraisal and everything.
And none of them, there was no indication at that time that they were like, oh man, this is really bad.
No.
People understood that.
They were real open about it. Like, it might be cool. Like, hey, we might be able to keep you employed and stuff because, I had done so good. And
and they'd certainly had people that failed the drug test.
Yeah, right.
But they had never had anybody that had the medical marijuana card.
Right.
Failed the drug test, and then they didn't know what to do, so they waited for 2 weeks because.
Right, and they actually gave me a couple. They asked me questions a couple times, and
basically.
So they were interested in finding out more. It wasn't just like, oh man, you failed, you're gone.
Or they wanted to build it.
And they say they have a zero tolerance policy. If you have a zero tolerance policy, you wouldn't even be asking that question.
They
you
would
would say,
them
you're
out,
gone.
Yeah.
They would say at that moment, you're gone. But that was always their defense. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So after 2 weeks, I come in as a Monday, and I have a little card that opens up the door. And I swipe it on the strip, and the door doesn't open. And a couple minutes later, the security guard's there, and he's like, they want to talk to you up in human resources. So I go up to human resources, and she's like, yeah, we're going to terminate your employment. And she wanted me to sign a piece of paper saying I agree with why they fired me. I'm like, yeah, right. I'm like, do I have a job? No. I'm not signing that piece of paper then. And it was that day actually that I went. I was kind of ticked off, So I went and found a lawyer that day, and he kind of put together a game plan like over a year because you have so much time to file the lawsuit. You want to make sure you had everything like taken care of. And he went ahead and filed the lawsuit about a year later, and it's gone through the courts for the past 4 years now, and just went to the Supreme Court, Colorado Supreme Court, and unfortunately we lost. But what I do think is that before my case came up, nobody was talking about, employment and how we've made this law and how that's going to affect employment. My case has brought that to light.
Absolutely.
And so now, of course, I got to ask: do you have any intentions or plans of trying to take this to the U.S. Supreme Court to overrule the Colorado Supreme Court?
Well, the thing is that the decision through the Colorado Supreme Court was based on federal law. First of all, the Supreme Court is never even going to hear this case.
Yeah,
of course.
They wouldn't even take it.
No,
they wouldn't even take it.
And they're not going to tell the Colorado Supreme Court that they made the wrong decision about their own state laws.
Right, because then it's going to make
It's-
us and everything that we're working for
Right.
here look bad if we can't even agree on that subject here.
Right.
I've had 2 experiences with employment and drug tests in Colorado. I haven't lived here my whole life. I'm from Massachusetts. I've been here about 7 years. Literally the first job I had when I moved here was a painting contractor working for a company painting houses. And my 11th day of living here, I got injured on the job. I cut my hand open pretty bad on a sink, and they sent me right to the emergency room, had me checked out, stitched up, called me to make sure I was okay. Do I need anything? Here's some cash for your prescriptions, which I never experienced before. And they were super, they wanted to make sure I was okay. Whereas, and then I got paid. They paid for all my physical therapy. They paid me whatever the unemployment was. And I got a nice check at the end. I don't know, it was $5,000 or whatever, but it was crazy treatment. I'd never experienced that. Years go by, I have another job here where I got hurt on the job working in a warehouse, and they sent me right to the doctors, and the first thing they wanted was a urine test. And I was like, okay. What do you say? I was in shock because I didn't see it coming. And then about a week later, I got a call from Human Resources saying, well, they did say to me, which is interesting, and this is 6 years ago, they say, you came up positive for marijuana. Do you have a medical marijuana card? And I didn't at the time, so I was terminated. So those are my two experiences.
I wonder how that would have went if you did have one.
That's what I was thinking too. And
it's interesting that in your case, which it sounds like happened after that. Yeah, it wasn't out. So continue telling your story. Sorry.
It was really crazy because it was like one of the biggest corporations. That's what really brought my story into light. I mean, it's Dish Network, and and it's the first medical marijuana employment case ever.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it. Now I'm just getting out. I mean, I'm doing a lot of interviews. I want to get into be more of an activist and doing things like that.
That's the other thing that's interesting to me too, on a few levels. First, that you weren't very outspoken when you were there. It's not like I guess my question is, do you think it was truly a random drug test, or do you think that they suspected something so they tested you?
Well, they had a sign on the door that said random drug test. So,
sure, it always says.
I mean, there's no reason for them to suspect me. I was never intoxicated at work.
And you weren't intoxicated
I
at work.
showed up and I did a good job. I mean, there was absolutely no reason for them to think that that I was on drugs or of any kind.
And you weren't an outspoken
marijuana,
activist or anything. You weren't showing up with a pot leaf on your shirt or anything like that.
No, I couldn't even have done that if I wanted to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
what about now? You must be at work, and I worked at call centers before. We used to just go out to the car and smoke bowls in our breaks and stuff. I'm sure that probably happens still nowadays.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not you, but I'm saying you must take a drug test.
I'm sure there are people who go out and take up on the break.
When you work at a place, you kind of have an idea who does what and stuff. I think.
Sure, so. You could probably, the person walking down the hallway kind of smells like.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But that wasn't me.
That wasn't
that
that was me.
There,
Not
like
you.
that guy.
Right. Yeah.
Well, my hands don't work. It's not possible for me to even load my bowl or roll my joint or light it or anything like that. So, yeah. And even if I had somebody to do that, that just wasn't who I was.
Sure.
Right. So in that context,
well, just my whole point must be frustrating knowing that those other people
When
are
those
smoking
other guys-
and you're getting called in for a random drug test.
Well, that's like I said, I was angry. I was under the impression that we had passed a law, even though as controversial as I knew it was, that that we're allowed to smoke, marijuana for medical reasons.
Sure.
If our doctors say it's okay, so.
And it's one thing coming into work impaired, but he wasn't coming into
Right.
work impaired.
And
but THC in the system is another thing.
of course,
And
and
also
as we know,
well,
it lingers.
It's not. Is it impairment that it makes them stop shaking?
Oh, no, it's the opposite of it.
Right.
It's actually,
No, not
as
at
we
all.
say,
Not
it's
at all.
It's not
actually,
impaired when you're
Right.
under the influence.
Right,
so-
it's
exactly.
actually performance enhancing
Exactly.
in this situation.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
their attorney kept on saying he crossed the threshold with THC in his body. Period.
Well,
So
at
how-
first they were
I know,
trying to.
but-
At first they were trying to suggest that I was actually coming to work impaired, and
Just because their idea of
He's a
nanograms.
user. Yeah, they kept on
Yeah.
saying he's a user. He's under the influence.
That's
I
crazy.
I need to
Okay.
move.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hot right here.
It's right in the sun.
Oh yeah. Let's make that happen. Yeah.
It was the jerk man stealing all the cool.
All the shade.
Thanks, man. Typical.
Is that more comfortable for you?
There's one tree. He's under it, laying there, taking up all the shade.
Whew, you guys need to get that air conditioning fixed.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, like I said, in that little room, it would have been twice
Yeah, that
as
thing's
hot.
a sweat box. Usually, it would have been a triple sweat box.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
So,
Sorry
now-
about that. The sun just got on me. And I was like, I don't sweat, so I just overheat. I get hotter and hotter and hotter. Yeah, so I got to watch out with, how hot I get.
Extreme hot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
of
sure.
course.
So, what I was saying is that I think it's interesting, and you're not the only case that we've met where all of a sudden someone's persecuted for a cannabis use that most people would, I think, consider very valid. A legit medical cannabis use, and everyone agrees, even the U.S. government at this point.
And I think a lot of people didn't really read into it. A lot of people were like, that guy's crazy if he thinks he's going to keep his job.
Well,
but then they would if you actually read into it, you're like, oh, well, maybe there's a real validity here. Then you're like,
right. And I read blogs, and people don't even see my picture or read my story. They just hear, man uses marijuana, for medical reasons, and they're like,
judged.
They're like, yeah, well, he just wants to get high. He just wants to get stoned.
Right.
But if you read my story and see my picture, I mean, that's why my lawyer took my case. My need is visible. It's visible. You could see it.
Right.
So.
And his job was far from being a hazardous job, and I can certainly see hazardous
Right, he's not
jobs. We're not
handling-
saying anybody should be able to come to work high or THC in their system, but he was working in a freaking call center.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And doing it, and like I said, doing a good job. So there's no
So I have a question.
no performance reasons there.
If the decision had come down in your favor, how would you feel about going back to work for them now?
Well, after all that's been done, I think, I do need a job, but the way that they have been, and I wouldn't want to work for them anymore.
Can't blame
Oh,
you.
hell no.
Yeah, no, puts it
Thanks.
bad.
Cool, yeah.
They actually, it was after after the appeals court, or was it the first court that it went through?
After
they
the
were
district
trying,
level.
Yeah, they were trying to get $40-some thousand in legal fees from me.
From
And-
you.
They sued
From
him
me.
for $40,000 for legal fees.
Wow.
Yeah,
And was awarded that.
yeah, and they actually went to another court where they dropped it down to $12,000, but then we brought it to the next. Or was it? We
Court
brought
of
it to the
Appeals
next?
then just eliminated it.
Yeah, and then they
So they're
said
really
that's
being bullies.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is totally
Because they said it's like a frivolous lawsuit, and it's like, no, it's not.
No, it's absolutely not a
it's
frivolous
legitimate.
lawsuit, yeah.
Like I said, you could see my disability. That's why my lawyer took it. So, yeah.
And so it's interesting that someone who, with this completely legitimate use, who never should have been messed with, got persecuted, and now has become, as you said, becoming more outspoken, probably
Right.
looking into it more and becoming more of an advocate. And
Yeah, well, call center work is like out of the question for me now. Like, I go to a job interview, and they're like, why'd you get fired? Well, I got fired because I was using medical marijuana, and I got in a lawsuit with my employer. That makes me not employable through a company like that. I mean, there's not many jobs I could do. I mean, you give me a phone and a computer, and I could do whatever you could do with that.
Yeah.
That's about it. So yeah.
well, on that note, I think we have it's not going to be the same kind of job. It's not going to be as big as them. We got about an hour a week gig for you to try to give you something to do. The kid gets out, hops on his bike and gets out of here after the show, but we need someone to post those episodes. They never get posted.
Nice.
I could show you how to do it. It's all just basic computer work.
All right.
And
You get your air conditioner fixed.
you don't have to. You do it from
And I'm
wherever
down.
you want.
I'll
man.
be back
you do
in
it from,
September. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it from home.
you do it from wherever you got some AC, buddy.
We'll be
Oh,
back.
you can do it from
cool.
home. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd be totally down.
Hell yeah. Because honestly,
We do drug tests, but
Right.
it's the other way. It's the other way.
It's the opposite style of drug testing.
I'll probably pass that one, right?
There's no
Pretty much.
THC in your system. Sorry, I just don't think you're
Yeah,
going to
I don't think you're qualified.
Exactly. We're way too low.
You're like, that's not enough.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
Only
You haven't
5
smoked in a
nanograms?
week. What are you? Well, right on, man. We want to wish you the best of luck in your
Yeah,
continued. You're
thanks for
doing an
having me
interview
on,
today.
What's that?
You're doing a real media interview today.
You're doing
Yeah,
proper
no.
ones now with air conditioning.
mean
With
real
air,
media?
with
We're
air
real
conditioning.
media.
With air
Yeah.
conditioning.
Going to the Denver Post, actually.
Denver Post has air
They
conditioning.
don't have.
so that's-
they don't
that's
have air
right.
conditioning.
I've actually been on the front page of their newspaper.
Now, were you
a couple
born and
times.
raised in Colorado?
Yeah.
Oh, really? So you're the real deal. You didn't move here for.
Yeah. See,
This-
so there's like
you're the people that the law was made for to
Right,
start with,
right,
because you're
right.
Coloradan in need.
Yeah.
It couldn't get more ridiculous and more
Colorado's been-
unjust.
and they had a really good chance to just sort of show that they have a sort of soul, I guess, as a company, which they don't, as we knew. I mean, the thing is, all corporate companies like that, they don't. It's like almost like when you go to a club and they won't let you in, and it's like for some reason or another, and you just try in all your angles, and it's like watching other people go through, and then it's just like it's the guy's mind's changed at that moment, and it's done. Like he can't go back because his brain only works in.
But
one
I
direction.
don't think anyone here's following that.
I'm telling you, it's just the same
Same
mentality.
thing.
It's just like a one way. Like once
That's
people
like
click their
key.
mind, it's like, and like corporate has that built in. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
yeah. They made their decision.
it's
No
already
changing.
yeah, and it's just like, and they don't take responsibility, and it's like you go like, wow, it's just the classic where it's not their fault, it's the next guy's fault, and then
Not my call, man. Sorry. I
and
like
you're-
you, but
and you're
not my
out.
call.
And then it's the kid's fault. And
well, it's
then
most of the
that's-
kids. It's going to always
That's
be
what
the
it
kids'
usually
fault.
comes down to. Is it's the
Always.
kid's fault.
Shit rolls downhill, bud. I don't know what to
It
tell you.
does. That's, I guess.
Hey,
that's
guys,
how it works.
don't forget to hashtag your pictures of weed and Dish Network.
Yeah, that's any picture you post on
Yes.
social media
Yeah.
of cannabis.
And be sure to cancel all your dish subscriptions.
Oh, yeah,
Tell
yeah,
them
if you
why.
have a
Tell
dish
them exactly
subscription.
why.
Yeah, tell them why.
If
And
for
if you
some
need
reason-
service, make sure you
Tell
tell
them why
them
you're
that you're
canceling.
switching
1-800
over.
Comcast.
Just say
I
Brandon
think is
Coates.
the number.
That's all you need to tell them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Now,
and just
that is
quit.
one question I have before you leave. Is this is something now that essentially everybody who works for Dish TV is aware of, right? Like everybody
I'm sure
knows.
if they watch TV, they're aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if they watch the news or any media of any sort, yeah. I've seen it on Yahoo, MSN, Google. Oh, it's all over the place.
Worldwide.
Do you
It's
see
a-
any stories that you're really excited about? You told us there are some that you're just like, oh man, this is lame. They're not really portraying it correctly. Have you seen some stories that you really felt did your story justice?
Actually, most of them, yeah. I've been pretty, the media's been really supportive. Besides Fox News, I'm.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not
figure.
going to get much from them.
Surprise,
So.
surprise.
And nobody's
you're not gonna
nobody's
get
really
very
taking
much
that
from
too
them.
seriously.
And actually, the local Fox actually did a good story on me too. It's just the national Fox News that
Yep.
makes it not look so good.
Yeah.
well,
happens.
they got to do their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we got to do our thing, and we're glad you're on
Right.
our side and
Yeah, no,
becoming
I'm glad
a
that you
vocal
guys,
advocate.
give me a stage here to put my story out.
Well, and I'll tell you, man, that as far as the activist community, the grassroots community in cannabis, it can be, as I'm sure you're already discovering, a weird situation navigating that world and finding the right people. And
Well,
our
it's-
biggest hope is to be
yeah.
able to share some of those resources with you by getting your story out to our audience, man.
Yeah, it just seems like we have this group here and this group there. We need to all get together and be activists all together and get stuff really really changed.
I mean, we even have just people on the chat room right now just saying, hey, I feel for this guy. I lost my job over a charge that happened 13 years ago. I just lost my job due to a felony marijuana charge that happened 13 years ago.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's, come on.
Yeah.
Yep, stuff has to change. I mean,
Well,
it's
yeah, and that was the one thing that came out of the first wave of the whole legalization, where they were starting to look at the way they could save money and just dropping cases, and it was like, yeah, this is the way it's got to go. But then it kind of petered out. It didn't last very long, and they didn't really go deeper, and they didn't let people out that actually should be let out. And so I think it's at this point where we can kind of hopefully push forward.
And I mean, this case, I hope that it'll be only a few years before we say, oh, this is ridiculous.
it is because if you think about it, look, Colorado isn't the only state with medical marijuana. We have 20-some states. You're talking probably a couple million people who use marijuana for medical reasons. Are we saying that we have a couple million people who are just unemployable? You just have to sit home and watch Jerry Springer all day? I mean, what's up with that?
Or our show. We're on
yeah,
in the
you
middle
know.
of the day for those people, too.
If you watch you can watch all those episodes over and over and over again. But no, it's the same with driving, and then the way they make it kind of like they pigeonhole you into a situation where you're like, if you're over 5 nanograms, you can't drive technically because you could get pulled over and they could test you. And if you're sitting around at 15 all the time because it's just residual
You're
in
a
your
daily
system,
user, yeah.
like you're gonna sit at home and well, I guess I can't drive today. I'll drive tomorrow because I might be lower. I mean, it's not gonna happen because and then you're gonna sit home and smoke all day and keep their levels super high.
No doubt.
So that's sort of the same idea. Like if you really went by the rules that they're trying to dictate, then everybody who uses medical marijuana is pretty much can't drive their car, which means they can't have a job.
Can't have a job, can't drive your car.
It just kind of goes down the road. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, basically, then they're all unemployed, and then what are we going to do? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I see a lot out on social media too. People saying anybody on public assistance should be drug tested. It's like, okay, now what are they supposed to do?
Right. And again, this case sets precedents for a lot of standards. Are medical users exempt from standard drug testing policies? And unfortunately, they took a really ignorant stance. Legally, Jessica broke it down and said how ridiculous it was, but just it's not justice.
It did bring the subject out, though. I mean, it is being talked about.
Oh, sure,
We're sitting here talking about it right now, so
Yeah.
it's out, and it will change. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you and applaud you for your role in it. You
Yeah.
know, however, unfortunately, it fell upon you. you know,
Yeah.
you've clearly seized the opportunity,
Sure,
and you're standing up as a voice of change, and you know that's what we love.
right,
Give me an applause.
Oh, it sounds really big out here.
Right on.
All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna actually get out of here.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. Thank you for making it
Hey.
through.
Get into some air conditioning.
Yeah, I
Thank you
need
so
to
much
go,
for coming
like,
down.
Yeah, get some lunch, maybe a drink, and yeah.
There you go.
Do your thing, brother.
Yep.
Thank
All
you,
right.
and good luck on all your media appearance upcoming.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tell Larry King we say hello.
Yeah, tell Larry King we say hello. Yeah, chat room's all clapping for you too, man.
Nice
Right
one.
on. And we have your contact info. We'll definitely reach out to you. Yeah.
Yeah, put it up there. People.
Get it out there. Cool. We're going to rotate the hot seat. Yeah.
This super hot seat.
Yeah,
Actually, it's
yeah.
a little cooler than it was. Sorry
Yeah.
about the sun. We see,
We blanketed the
Did
sunlight.
you like my technique up there?
You did that?
I did that.
You're the man.
I made the kid get up and do that. I was like, we have to keep them from melting. And luckily, we didn't know that he couldn't sweat. That even made it worse.
Come transition in. Yeah. Hop on the mic. We got 2 mics, 2 guest mics. We'll get the 2 guest mics going.
I can wait.
Whoa!
Whoever's going first.
Sliding into third base. Boom.
Right on. Hop on the mic. Get right down to it.
Bam.
Go. You're ready.
Hi, team. Can you hear me?
Hi. We can hear you.
We can hear you.
You want to talk into the long side of the
Talking
mic.
the long
There
side?
you
Cool.
go.
Sideways, like
Yeah,
a corn on
well-
the cob.
So the acoustics in this place are amazing.
Yeah.
Overly amazing. You have
So
to get
this-
right in tight.
So one of our first shows as a band was actually here.
Oh, nice.
Really?
Yeah, it was the best set. I want to record an album here. It's really cool.
I think it's a real weird place. We like our studio better, but we're down here now.
Totally.
We're doing it. We're doing it.
So,
Give us an overview.
yeah.
Come on, give
Go,
us an intro.
go ahead.
Intro.
Slide right
Are
in.
you
Intro.
Are you
Intro.
Are you
Well, it's segue/intro.
Segue.
I don't know who these guys are, so why
There
don't you
you go.
introduce them?
No, dude. You don't know?
I'm just gonna stare here awkwardly.
Yeah, that's how we were.
That's how we like
That's how
it.
we
I'm
like
not gonna
to
make
intro.
any
We're like
eye
stoners.
contact.
That's a stoner thing.
Stoners
Not
can't-
introducing
you
to your
can't
friends.
No.
I told you why, because you don't want them to jump your contacts.
Yeah,
that's why.
that's
'cause
exactly
you might,
right.
And what? You know this guy?
But that's
Oh.
here. It's
Yeah.
Colorado's not.
It doesn't
like
matter.
that,
It's
no.
ingrained in your
because they're gonna
it's-
get them.
it's like
they're gonna
reps-
get your contacts.
It's reptilian blood that just runs through you. That's like, don't let them jump my contacts. Right?
What?
Never mind. Can't tell you. It's too complicated.
I understand what he's saying.
Boom.
Take it away. We're smoking and eating after a heavy session.
No, that's so you just want me to talk about myself and what we're doing?
Yeah.
That's easy.
Wow.
And then we pepper it off. You kind of put you on the spot a little.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
love being on the spot.
Get you all
Yeah.
awkwardly there. And then
No, I have no problem being awkward. It sort of comes naturally.
Yeah.
So I am the CEO of Waste Farmers.
There
We're
you
a
go.
sustainable agriculture company. Kind of think about us like a family 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 of